Welcome to Make Your Money Matter. I'm your host, Brad Barrett. I'm also a managing director and partner here at One Capital Management. And today on our show, I'm going to talk about the concept, a little more theoretical, maybe more macro, if you will, of time and money. Money and time and money. Finkel and Einhorn and Finkel. Come on, Ace Ventura fans, are you with me now? So I want to understand this concept for all of us as it relates to our retirement plan, really as it relates to our overall investing concept. And I want to share something out of my nearly 2 decades of experience. And this is not necessarily something that's going to be profound by any means. Maybe it's a mic drop moment for you. I'm not sure who I'm speaking to necessarily right now. Hopefully I'm speaking to someone that this hits home with, because it did for me when I started realizing over many years of being an advisor and just an investor myself, a human being, just like you, who's working and saving, has a family. But before we get started on all that, smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. All right, let's get into it. So here's what I want to share today. Investing in general is 10% intellect and 90% temperament or emotions. I want to say that again. Investing is about 10% intellect and 90% temperament or emotions. I want to focus on that today because I think many of us get swayed or incentivized or just overly motivated maybe by certain people who act like they're smart and have all this intellect. But the reality is, whatever it is you're reading or doing, or whatever discipline you might be putting in place in your investing life, again, it's 10% intellect and 90% how you react, or basically your temperament. It's basically a test of how well you can sit quietly when your emotions are likely screaming at you to do the wrong things. So let's walk through some basics here. What we all pretty much know, I think at this point, when we talk about investing in general, is what's the first thing you think of? You want to buy something lower than what you sell it for, right? So hypothetically, if I buy something for $10 and I sell it for $12, I bought low, sold high, boom, done, investing 101, right? But I want to go back here to first base for a second. Work, for any of us that aren't retired right now, brings us what? It brings us money. Those are the earnings that we're bringing in, the assets, the time that you're working brings the money in. Now, ultimately, your assets bring you what? It brings you wealth. That's the word we're going to define here today. And then wealth ultimately buys you the ticket, in my opinion, to freedom. So work brings you money, money buys you assets, assets bring you wealth, and my friend, wealth buys you freedom. And freedom is where we go into the intersection between time and money. What is money to someone? I've said this before, and it's a quote from a book by George Clason called The Richest Man in Babylon. And I love this quote. I learned it many, many years ago. Money is plentiful for those who understand the simple laws which govern its acquisition. Now, not going into the theoretical or the macro view of the laws of money principles here today, I want to focus on one. And I say it often in what you've likely heard me say are the 2 Ds, discipline and discernment. I know, friends, you're tuning in me right now and you're going, oh my gosh, this guy's gonna go on about discipline again. I'm telling you, this is what matters. The people that I've been around in my business as an advisor, that I've been blessed to be able to serve, and at this point now in our career, at our firm with all of our advisors, we're managing nearly $5 billion for clients, around 2,000 clients nationwide. We've seen a thing or two with different zeros behind certain people's names. And neither that there are better humans or not better humans. I think a lot of times that you heard me say a couple weeks ago, that comparison is the thief of joy. That's not what I'm mentioning here. I want to say this very openly. Sadly, like Jay-Z said before, more money, more problems. That's a true fact. But I want to share some of the concepts that I learned from the higher net worth individuals and bring it to all of us, because I think we can learn from experience. Someone once asked Henry Ford, the founder of Ford Motors, what is the secret to success? His answer shocked me. His answer was make wise decisions. Well, initially, obviously, the follow-up from the person asking him said, how do you make wise decisions? And his answer was from experience. Now, naturally, the next question was, well, wait a minute, how do I get experience? And here's his answer. You get experience from making stupid decisions. Many of us right now could probably think of a stock or a purchase or an investment that in hindsight, we probably shouldn't have made, right? We've all had those experiences. There's been actually a lot of studies on this from a behavioral financial standpoint, that there's a focus that our minds tend to focus on the $1 loss more than the $10 gain. Because I would argue right now, myself included, I could think of 1 or 2 investments or purchases that probably weren't the best purchases. I either maybe bought too high and now it's undervalued, or it just went kaput and it wasn't really a good investment in general. Whatever it might be, that one specific wrongdoing, and I just glaze over the other 10 positive things that have happened. I just had a discovery meeting with a client and we were talking about some of these investing philosophies. Now, he's been on his career for nearly 30 years. He's had his retirement plan kind of contributing to it, has other investments as well. And we're talking about an investment philosophy in general. And typically as an advisor, what I want to do is I want to meet everyone where they are at the current time. I also want to be able to understand, and hopefully within 45 minutes or an hour of this discovery meeting, understand where they've been. And a lot of that comes through good questions, because how you ask a question to someone helps each of you really see for yourself where you've gone through or where they've gone through you're talking to, both circumstantial, like the stuff you've lived through, the good and the bad, maybe that bad investment or maybe the good investments or whatever it might be, as well as some of the behavioral, like the DNA, right? Just who you are naturally as a person. Are you an aggressive person? Are you more of a passive person? Or are you an A-type personality or more of a passivist? By the way, neither of them are right or wrong in the investing world. I'm just putting it out there as to understanding who you are and making sure you know, right? A leopard can't change their stripes. Our job is to meet you where you are and figure out what's the right approach for who you are to make sure that going back to the concept today, the theme of today, which is time and money, because money, no matter what you're doing with your investments, no matter how you look at it emotionally or pragmatically, maybe rationally or logically, all we're trying to do is buy what? We're trying to buy time. And I want to throw out a math equation for you. So if you're on a run right now listening to me, or if you're driving, try not to, try to follow along. But if you're maybe sitting down, for the next 45 seconds or so, grab a pen. And by the way, come back to this, mark this point, because there is math actually here that helps with this. It's a mathematical equation that is going to buy you time. We're all trying to say, okay, I want to grow money and this, that, and the other, right? And I mentioned the word wealth, and what ultimately wealth buys us is freedom. I think that, when I say that word wealth, how many of the first thing you thought of, right, was, subconsciously like, wow, wealth, man, that means some sort of money, a lot of money typically, right? Why do we define the word wealth as like having a ton of money? I really want to go through this today because wealth, to me, the wealthiest people I've seen tend to be the happiest because they're not necessarily chasing the money, they're actually chasing freedom. So the wealthiest, happiest people aren't the ones driving the Bentleys, right, necessarily. They're the ones that have the time. They're choosing to have money be their employee versus money be their boss. And I think it's a good challenge for all of us at any time, no matter where you're looking at a purchase or an investment, or maybe just overall retirement, is making sure you see that concept. Now, anytime I run a financial plan for a client, there's two things we talk about mainly when it comes to investing and the numerical part of the plan. Remember, the numerical part's all the income, the outflows, the debts, the investing, all of that is the numerical. There's also the qualitative part, which is the interest, the goals, hobbies, values, what you bring to your money, what money brings to you, to get that financial freedom that you're looking for. And the two things we talk about when it comes to investing on the numerical side is rate of return and distribution rate. Now, likely, you know what I'm talking about in the first part, the rate of return. That's, how much you're earning, right? That's the investment return. Everyone loves to talk about it, and it's okay. And likely you've had a conversation. Heck, you might have had a conversation this morning, whether it's a tableside conversation or a conversation at the coffee shop. Maybe it's organic. Maybe you just, brought it up. You might have had that conversation around, an investment or a stock, an idea, startup company, whatever it might be. Think about this conceptually. How many times have you gone through and said, okay, if I invest in that, what will that get me? Not what it will earn you, what will it get me? Because there's some questions you should ask in any investing to make sure that you have two parts that I'm talking about. The rate of return is equally as important, friends, as the distribution rate. What is the distribution rate, Brad? Okay, good old math. Go back to like third grade here. Numerator over denominator. That equals what? An output. Now, never thought you use that equation again, right? So let me walk you through for a second, because this is what any solid financial plan that you have built before or you're looking to build is based off of. This is where it's good to have a conversation with your advisor and reach out to us if you want our help to go through this. But if you're sitting down, write this down. Write X over Y equals I. Good old math, baby. But this math equation is vital to your financial success. The X part, the numerator part, is what you need to pull from your assets. Now, to get to that number, you basically do some quick math beforehand. What you have coming in, whether that's Social Security maybe, current income right now, minus what you have going out. Now, you only have a numerator if there's a deficit. For example, if you have $100,000 coming in, but you have $150,000 going out, your numerator is $50,000. You need to pull $50,000 from your assets at some point to live the life you want to live. So let's use that as an example for a second. If you have $50,000 a year that you need, that's your numerator. I want to shift gears for a second, just give you some background, right? There's empirical data here that comes out each year. And I want to go into specifics today real quickly. But essentially it's to say that the distribution rate, a sustainable one over a 25-year plus retirement, depending on certain allocations, is somewhere around 4 to 5%. That's your output, all right? That's the output here. So let's plug that in. If we have 5% on the outside and we have $50,000 that we know we need, we can solve for our denominator. Like I said, math today, friends. Now, I know I might have lost you there, but hear me out. If we have $50,000 divided by what equals 5%? That's your math. That's your financial success math, all right? You can see that's $1 million, right? $50,000 divided by $1 million equals 5%. Great, Brad, you can do math. Awesome, right? Good for you. So I want to bring some context here as we end today's show. This, my friends, if you're in your 20s or 30s, this gift given to you by what this number entails is what you need to save by the time you want to retire. Now, I know you might think this is some big mic drop moment, but I'm telling you, that's pretty profound because you know how many times I've met with people who maybe are in their 50s or 60s doing a discovery meeting, and they've been working for somewhere between 20 or 30 years, and they don't even know what they're going for. They don't know what number or what they need. They might have an idea like, I want $1 million or something like that, and that's great to have a goal, but it's something, it's really forming the why, because ultimately your assets are buying you time. So we need to make sure that we can get to that example, $1 million sooner than you might think. And then guess what? You can retire sooner. Don't have to be 65 or 70. Wouldn't that be nice? Again, you may not need to or want to, but you now have money in your control. It's in your employment, not the other way around. So you basically then can take that number and back into what you need to save today with an assumed rate of return to get to your denominator, to get to your savings number. Again, not sure I'm speaking to today, but I want to be very clear about this. Anytime you run a well thought out, well-designed, comprehensive financial plan, this withdrawal rate or distribution rate is paramount because it answers so many questions to the young and frankly, any age, that are building and saving money and looking at investments. One of the number one questions I think I get asked right when people are on the doorstep thinking about going into retirement, whatever age, is do I have enough money? Or said differently, will my money last my entire retirement? And this number, this mathematical equation I gave you, tells an investment manager also how to manage your assets. How many of you out there, right? How many of you had the concept out there that as you get older, you feel like you should get more conservative? It's a rule of thumb, right? We all know it. It's been out there forever. And I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but this equation I just gave you gives you the context to that. We've had 15, 16, 17 months of market volatility and market disruption and just a lot of questions going on. We've shared that on our show. I want to speak to someone right now around this and hear me loud and clear when I say this. Right now, wherever you're at, whatever age, whatever stage in life you are, you either get paid for the decisions that you made years ago or you pay for decisions you made years ago. The decision is yours. It's important to make sure that if there's any catalyst that's going to get you going on some things, now might be the time. I don't care what age you are. It matters that you get into action because when you look at yourself a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, you either get paid for the decisions you made years ago or you're paying for decisions you made years ago. Again, the choice is yours. Have money work for you to buy you time and buy you freedom. Don't forget how the approach goes here. Work brings you money, money buys you assets, assets bring you wealth, and wealth buys you freedom. That, my friends, is how money can ultimately buy you time, and time is wealth because you can't buy more of it. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, be sure to subscribe and always remember to make your money matter.